Hey, I'm ZSH Plays, and I love this view of the Treetop Trail here at San Bernardino Zoo, but wouldn't it be amazing if our guests could see it from up here too? Well, today we're building a treetop restaurant where our guests can sit in comfort and watch the Siamang Orangutangs while they eat. It's inspired by the Treetop Bistro at San Diego Zoo. Let's get building. This build is going to take advantage of one of the features of Planet Zoo's restaurants, which is that the tables for the guests don't need to be on a path. They just need to be within 30 meters of the restaurant building itself. I'm just putting down some 30-meter squares so we can work out where we can put our tables, and then we can start building the restaurant. Now, because there won't be any new animals in this episode, I'm going to be treating you to some visits to some of the cutest animals in the zoo that you've never seen before, namely the babies. So more on that in a minute. But first, we're going to sort out the pathing. This is just behind where the Asian small-clawed otter habitat is, and the Komodo dragon, and we're going to use the transport trick that we used to build the flying forest again here to get a nice smooth path that leads people up towards the stairs that go up to the restaurant itself. We'll also have a disabled access ramp in as well, so we're going to curve this round here. I think it's a 3-degree angle, nothing too steep, and that will draw the terrain in for us, and then we can use the terrain tools just to widen this out, smooth it off, get a nice natural looking slope going around this corner here. Once we've done that, we can start getting the paths in. So get a nice wide path here, and we will put this along the new raised terrain that we just made until we get mostly round the corner, and then we'll put the stairs in. So the way it's going to work is that we'll have actual paths and stairs that the guests can walk on until they get up to the restaurant. And then after that, we're mainly just going to be building things out of pieces so we can get these cool platforms suspended in the air with loads of tables for the guests, and we can basically put them wherever we want. We don't need to bother about getting paths there. Once we've got the guests into the restaurant, then after that, they will basically just teleport to the tables, and we can build this in any design that we like. And the design that I like is the Treetop Bistro at San Diego Zoo. Like I said in the intro, I think I must have missed that when I went to San Diego Zoo. I guess a restaurant didn't sound that exciting to me, but I really wish I'd seen it. It's been in my inspo folder for a long time. I've been waiting for the opportunity to build it. But before we build any more of it, it's time to check out the newest zoo babies. I think I only added our female last week, but we have Caracal Kittens already, and oh my god, they are so cute, it is ridiculous. Look at them having a little fight here, and then they're going to run off into their habitat, and then mum comes along to see what's going on. I've been looking forward to these guys, and oh, they're just so cute. Anyway, back to the build. This is the piece that's basically going to create about 90% of this build for us. It's a limestone floor piece. And what we're going to do is decorate it with some girders and various other pieces that we'll get to until we can replicate the platforms that they have at San Diego Zoo that all the restaurant tables sits on. It's kind of a complex at San Diego Zoo. I know there's like a cafe, an information center, all sorts of different things on different platforms. And we're going to replicate that here. Mainly, we're going to have the main restaurant, then we're going to build a little bar as well, just so we've got 2 buildings up here. But the majority of the space will be taken up with the tables for the guests. Planet Zoo guests are always hungry, so we're going to need a lot of tables to keep them happy. So once we've got the girders in, we're going to start putting some poles in to make a big fence to keep everyone safe up here. I went with an orange for the girders originally, but we're going to change that. Decided to match the colours of the water terraces, which is sort of the colour theme that we've returned to in lots of different places in the zoo to keep it looking nice and cohesive. We will switch that out. I was just doing a bit of experimenting to begin with. It's really important that we get this one piece right, because I'm going to be using it and modifying it to basically make all of the platforms for this whole restaurant. I tried loads of different pieces to get the exact look that I wanted, and then lots of different colour schemes as well. I've dropped some extra pieces in here just so I can measure roughly where these fence posts are going to go, so everything's symmetrical. Newsflash, I've just heard as I record this, Frontier have announced that on the 24th of April, they're doing one of their unlock screens where they're revealing all the latest updates on Planet Zoo PC and Console Edition. So that sounds very much like we're going to get some new Planet Zoo news on the 24th of April. Very exciting. Looking forward to finding out what that is all about. In the meantime, we're using the grasslands pole, as we do so often, to create some more sort of barriers on this fence here, just to make sure no kids can sort of crawl under the main bar and fall off the platform or anything like that. So we'll just drop a load of these down here, get them in the right amount of space away from each other, and just try and replicate exactly what they have at San Diego Zoo. These are the new colors, we'll put those in. And that is one side of the piece complete. And now we can start putting it around the rest of the platform. This is basically what it's going to look like. When we have a join like this, we'll delete the curved piece and put a straight piece in. When we get to the stairs, we can rotate it so it follows that nicely. There are some paths up here, as you can see, because I wanted to use the in-game stairs so everything looks the same. But when we get onto the platforms where the tables are, it's basically just going to be this piece. We'll put another side into it as well, of course. So like on the other side of this bit here, you can see we've got a gap there. So we'll need railings there as well. We're going to have some massive palm trees growing through that gap and all sorts of other vegetation as well. It's going to look really cool. So that's one piece done. That is one side done. And this is the platforms in as well. It's really starting to come along. We'll start on the restaurant itself next. But before we do that, let's go and check out the latest developments at one of our newest habitats, the lemur walkthrough. We started this with 6 lemurs, and I think we now have 13. These guys have been very busy. We've got a load of ringtail lemurs here, and even more black and white rough lemurs in the background as well. And this habitat's working really nicely, although I do wish the keepers would stop walking along the wooden parts that I put next to the path. But that's where the water bowls are, and they don't seem to care that those parts are supposed to be for the lemurs. Very happy with how this one's coming along. Let's get back to the build and start putting in the restaurant walls. So this is going to look super simple first of all, and then we're going to make it a lot more attractive after that. But what I'm doing is just getting the shape that I want here. This is based on the, I think this is the bistro itself in San Diego Zoo. I could be wrong. I've got a lot of reference photos that I've been looking at. But this is the basic shape I want, and I realized it was a bit close to where the guests are coming up on the stairs. So we're just going to move everything along. You can see the treetop trail in the background there. We are just above the level of the guest path, so you can get an even better view from up here, albeit further away. And then we're going to put the roof in. You've probably noticed that lots of my roofs are flat or just curved. I don't really do sort of traditional roofs like this, but this is the sort of roof that they have at San Diego. I just went absolutely crazy with these roof pieces until I finally got something that looked like the original. There we go. That's the basics of the restaurant. Let's head over to Amazonia now and check out some more animals. I don't think we've seen the peccaries since we built this habitat. Not one of the zoo's big ticket animals, but man, their babies are cute. Check these little guys wandering around in their little muddy hollow that we made for them. These peccaries breed like crazy. We have so many new babies in here, but when they're as cute as this little guy, who cares? We're going to move on to detailing the building now. The first thing we're going to do is use some trim pieces to finish off these gables. For some reason, they don't seem to have any wood at the bottom. So like the white wood that you can see at the top is part of the piece, but then there doesn't seem to be anything at the bottom. So we're going to make our own so it looks cohesive. And then we're going to put some glass in. Now, this roof doesn't really have anything in it, and the inside of this build isn't going to be that detailed either because the guests are only going to access the first part of it. So I've used the opaque glass pieces, and we'll do the same thing with these windows here. So you can't actually see through them, but they give the impression of being glass. That's going to make it look really good from a distance, and then it won't ruin the illusion when you get up close and you can see that there's nothing in there. So we will, as always, recess these windows into the wall and then replace the big plaster piece with some smaller plaster panels so that we can have the windows sort of correctly lined up with the wall rather than being stuck on the front of it. I had to put the lamp on there so I can see what I'm doing. It's a pretty dark green here, matching what they have at San Diego Zoo. So just a few more panels and that's that window finished off. I saw a nice little detail on all the reference photos I was looking at, which are these kind of shutters they have on the windows. Initially I thought they were like mosquito netting that could be lifted up or down depending on the season, but on closer inspection I think they're just kind of standard shades which enable you to either completely prevent light from getting in or have a really nice open window with a breeze depending on the temperature. But I'd already made these mosquito netting style ones using the netting from the butterfly walkthrough, and I really like how they looked, so I decided to keep those as they were rather than changing it. It's not something I've built before. I think it adds some character to the build. We'll have these on most of the windows, I think. This is the sort of handle that keeps it open and enables you to close it as well. And then we'll put some glass in here. We need real glass, so to speak, here so that guests can see into the kitchen. Obviously, that's one of the main features of the restaurant, the fact that you've got an actual kitchen in there with people working away in it. So we'll need to build a custom window that looks similar to the default windows that we used on the other side. More trim pieces to define the edge of the window. These ones are from the Twilight pack. They're one of the thinnest wood pieces in the game that isn't actually a plank, so I use these all the time. And then we'll use them again, just spun around the other way so they're thinner, so that we can make the actual window panes as well. And once we've got the window finished, we can concentrate on making this building look interesting. So there's a really interesting texture on the building in real life, and we're going to replicate it here using plaster panels. So I've spun them down at a 15-degree angle, and then we're using the world axis so that we can move them straight up in the air. And that enables us to put this texture in here. It's almost like corrugated, but it doesn't quite look exactly like what I would expect corrugated to look. It's a bit classier. So that's what we've gone for here. We're just going to use this one piece and put it all the way across the building. Would have been easier just to make one plaster piece and put these on it already and build the building out of that, but there's a lot of custom windows and doors to go around, so that wouldn't really have worked, which is why we're doing it this way. And while we finish that off, let's go and check out one of the zoo's biggest babies. Here he is, pretty sizable, kind of looks like a potato, but somehow super cute at the same time. This is Horace, I believe I called him, our first baby hippo. He's been here a while now, but they take a long time to mature. Any excuse to show hippo falls again, to be honest. This is definitely one of my favourite habitats in the zoo. Let's move on to the inside of the restaurant building. So we're going to put some kitchen-style fluorescent lighting in over the kitchen itself, and then some more attractive lighting in this corridor here. I figure this would be where servers come to get the food from the kitchen to then go and take it out to the guests. And then in the other part of the building at the other end, there'd be some indoor seating as well. We'll put these arches in here to act as like serving hatches. And there's some of Just Goron's restaurant blueprint stuff in the background there as well for detail. Put a little pot plant in. I've made a sign as well. We'll look at that in more detail later. But first, we're going to take our last trip across the zoo today to see the lions. I think these lion cubs are one of the best models in the game. They look so different to the adults, so much more like a little cat. And I saw them do something I've never seen them do before, which is really cool. Maybe you've spent more time watching lions than I have. This is the first time I've really had lions in a zoo, so I've never seen them do this before. But the little cubs actually chase their mum's tail and then fall over. Such a great little animation. I can't believe I'm still seeing new things in this game and I've played it as much as I have. But yeah, that was really cool to see. Makes me wonder what other animations are in the game that I haven't seen. Let's leave the lions and go and get this restaurant finished. Alright, main restaurant building finished, platforms finished, time to get the tables in. So we'll put random rotation on, and then we will just spam these tables all over these platforms. This is kind of the prime area, I guess, the one that's closest to the Treetop Trail. And then at the back here, I've made this platform higher, so the view is still unrestricted across to where the animals are. I think this would be such a cool place to have some food. And then we'll put a load of the umbrellas in as well. Shade, very important in Southern California. And then we should probably make it so that this isn't floating in mid-air as well. So once we've made these umbrellas a bit more vibrant, we'll head to ground level and start putting some supports in. So this again is copied directly from the San Diego Zoo build, just using some concrete pillars. And then we've got various arms kind of branching off of them that will hold up all the concrete above it. And we'll just make one of these. I was going to go with this kind of go-away green to begin with, but I've decided to go with grey. I think they're either grey or blue at San Diego Zoo. We'll put a piece at the bottom to solidify it into the ground, change the colour, and there we go. Time for the big palms I talked about. This is one of the custom palms made by Romano Palacios. Looks so good. We'll have a couple of those in there, sort of towering over the restaurant. And then we'll use our jungle foliage pieces to fill everything out. And then we're going to make another sign to introduce the cafe at ground level. So we'll look at that in a bit more detail. This brilliant font piece was made by Ricey. It's actually based on the San Diego Zoo fonts, or one of their fonts, I think. So very appropriate for this build. And as usual, I've copied it on top of itself a few times to make it three-dimensional. And then we're going to get some of these Kentia palms and put them behind it to frame it. And then we're going to get some rocks so that the sign isn't floating in mid-air. We're also going to use these pieces from the South America pack, which I'm not sure I've ever used before. They're actually really cool, these sort of wooden vine pieces. The way they join up together, you can make some really cool shapes with them. So we've got a couple of these under here, which are going to line up so it looks more like it's one piece. And then I'm going to take one of those pieces and spin it at an angle later on so that it forms a perfect circle, which always looks good in logos. And then we'll take some of the Oceania rock pieces to make the sort of background for the sign. Love these pieces, built the whole Tasmanian devil habitat out of them pretty much, and I'm sure I'll use them again in the zoo at some point. I am so excited for the next DLC so that we will hopefully have some new pieces to play with. There's the circle I spoke about. All we need to do now is put some plants in front of the sign to tie it all together, and we are done, and we can check out the Treetop Cafe. Ooh mama, that looks lush. Very happy with that. Here's the entrance that we just built. Guests going up the stairs towards the cafe, and then they can get through the doors and actually go in and order some food, and then magically teleport to the tables here. Now we need a shot of the guests eating with some of the animals in the background. So here we go. How good does that look with the Siamang climbing up the tree? We've got one swinging up here as well. Guests are far too busy with their ice creams to care. Let's take a look at the whole build now. I think this would be a really nice place to chill out and eat some food in the sunshine, check out the animals. Big shout out to Ricey, Romano Palacios and Just Goron, whose blueprints have really elevated this build. You can actually see a Siamang climbing along the ropes in the background there as well. I love how you can see past the flying fox forest all the way to the entrance. Really happy with this. It's been a long time in the planning. It's great to finally get it built. Let's take a look with our new processing power and a much more impressive shot than normal of the members monolith. Thank you all so much for joining. If you want to see your name on here, then hit the join button on the channel and you can join the Explorers Club. Thank you all so much for watching as always, and I'll see you next week for some more Planet Zoo. Bye.